You could not ask for a better start to the playoffs. The Charlotte Hornets gave us an instant classic. Lamelo Ball, clutch down the stretch outside of an ill-advised turnover. Let's talk about this game, man. At halftime, Charlotte was underperforming their shot quality by a very large margin. This blue line here is their expected points. That red line is the Heat's expected points. Charlotte is the most three-point dependent team in the league. They are not built to put a lot of pressure on the rim. They are built to put pressure on the rim by getting shots on the glass and letting Moussa Diabate clean it up. Nobody made more threes this season than Con Knipple and Lamelo Ball. Tonight, Con was 0 for 6. Lamelo was 2 for 16. And they still pulled it out. There were two massive runs in this game that decided the outcome long before we got to overtime. End of the third quarter, Kobe White goes for 11 points. Charlotte closes the third on a 15-4 run the last 4 minutes. He ends up scoring 14 points in the third. That was a huge stretch for them. The offense was dead in the water. We'll talk about why the zone was so effective against them and what their potential matchup versus either Orlando or Philly, and then hopefully against Detroit, what that could mean. That second run came by Davion Mitchell, mano. Pretty much the only person on the Heat's offense who could get anything going before Andrew Wiggins, Norman Powell, and Tyler Hero picked it up. He led a 17-2 run in the fourth where he scored 7 points, but drove a lot of the downhill pressure, forced some turnovers, played some great defense against LaMelo Ball overall. Usually you'll see teams go zone against other teams that cannot beat them with above-the-break threes. That's typically the types of shots that any type of zone will give. Most NBA teams will try to beat the zone by getting a man in the middle. Charlotte was insistent on staying 5 out and trying to screen their way to advantages. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, Con having such a rough shooting night made it a little bit tougher for them. Honestly, he's probably their best short roll playmaker. I still think they maybe could have used Miles Bridges in these scenarios instead. They could have possibly even trusted Moussa a little bit more. But the fact that he was shooting so poorly from the field made it less likely he was going to take advantage of these situations for his own offense. So it's not bad he kicks out to Brandon Miller. It's just a tougher look, and that's what this zone wants to create. Sometimes when teams are in pick and roll, instead of having that ball handler directly pass the ball to the big, they might skip it. Here, Brandon Miller doesn't make that pass. Getting it to Moussa here will force one of these defenders to commit, whether it's Norman Powell or Kel'el Ware, and that opens up backdoor cuts. I just don't think Charlotte was able to trust their bigs in this scenario, which just made it a lot harder for them to create against this zone defense. It's not a coincidence that Charlotte's offense looked better when they were able to attack earlier in the shot clock before Miami could set up the zone, or in instances where Miami went man. Here, LaMelo Ball just beats Hawkins with that hezzy hang dribble, gets downhill, is able to fake out Andrew Wiggins to try to close out to Miles Bridges, and then Brandon Miller knocks down the corner three. Charlotte could have been better against the zone, but we got to talk about these end-of-game sets and this silent out-of-bounds scenario. Down 3, Miami loves the foul of 3. They're going to send LaMelo Ball on a decoy flare off of Brandon Miller. Then they're going to have Kobe White twirl off of that cross screen for Grant Williams, and he's going to shoot it as soon as the ball touches his hands, and it's all net bottom. Here's what Charles Lee drew up to win the game for Charlotte. You got Kobe White all the way back to pull one defender out of the action. Again, using LaMelo Ball as a screener and then screening him with Brandon Miller for this curl around and under the basket. Creates him getting downhill against Jaime Jaquez, who's a little bit slower. They've got full 5-out personnel on the floor, no bigs. Everyone can shoot. LaMelo gets a step, finishes in cinema. And then Charlotte comes down, blocks the shots, end the game. And they're on their way, hopefully, to Orlando or Philly, and then to Detroit.